The Great Resignation is upon us. But what is it? And more importantly, what does it mean for you? That's exactly what we're getting into in this video. Now, if that sounds good to you, tap that like button and we're just gonna go straight into it today. Let's start off with the obvious. WTF is the Great Resignation? Well, buzz about it started happening in early 2021. And there's been a few numbers that have been really fanning the flames and fueling the conversation surrounding the Great Resignation. First, the one that you might have noticed around here on YouTube quite a bit is that in April of 2021, 4 million people quit their job. In addition, Microsoft has done some surveys and they have found that about 41% of people are intending to resign from their jobs. They're about to quit their jobs. Yes, 41% of people are like, you know what? I'm ready to quit my job. And then there's another number that has been floating around as well, and that is 95% of people are thinking about quitting their jobs. And that was done with a pretty small sample size on monster.com, which is a job search site. So think about the context of the data which was actually collected there, especially if it was driven from site traffic of people who are looking to find new jobs. But nonetheless, we do have a high number of people that are resigning from their jobs, they're quitting their jobs and pursuing new opportunities. No matter how you slice and dice the numbers, there is a lot of movement going on in the job market right now. And that leads us to the question, why is the Great Resignation happening? Well, in order to understand why the Great Resignation is happening, first, we need to throw it way back to spring 2020, which is, I'm sure, a time that none of us really want to remember. When the world shut down last year, there was an astronomical level of job loss. If we go back just over a year to April 2020, we actually had a record high unemployment of 14.8%. That is actually the highest level of joblessness since 1948. So this was huge. And while many industries were impacted due to the shutdown, due to everything that was going on, you know, the things I'm not going to talk about in here, there were certain industries that really took the brunt of it. Restaurants, retail, and travel and hospitality. Those industries were hit particularly hard because retail stores closed, restaurants weren't allowed to have diners, and entire countries closed, which kind of put a damper on the travel plans. Fast forward to today though, and that brings us into the labor shortage. So the industries that were hit particularly hard are actually having a particularly hard time hiring now. Even though many are offering higher wages, and I'll put some examples on the screen for you guys here, as well as sign-on bonuses, it hasn't been enough for many of these companies in order to attract talent that they need to fill the jobs that they have. In fact, a study done by Korn Ferry found that 90% of retailers are still having a hard time hiring talent, even though a third of those that responded are offering sign-on bonuses or employee referral programs, which means that if you refer someone, you get a bonus if like your friend gets hired. When the shutdowns and the layoffs and the job loss happened, people that were working in these roles and in these industries needed to find another solution. Most people can't just sit around on the couch watching daytime television wondering when their job is going to come back. So those that took the layoff lemons and turned them into lemonade by making a career change are now no longer available for those roles, leaving that gap in the market. I'm editing this video right now and there was one more thing that I just wanted to speak to real quick. There is more reasons why people have migrated away from these jobs and aren't available to take the roles that are open. Some have relocated cities, but there's also a whole bunch of different life reasons why someone might not be rushing back to work with the first opportunity that presents itself. Also, I know that I'm going to get in the comments, I'm going to speak to it real fast here. I know that there is a lot of conversation, especially in the media, about the fact that the relief payments that were paid for people who were impacted by layoffs during the recession are keeping people from going back to work. I personally do not subscribe to that as causing the labor shortage at the scale that it is. I'm sure that there might be some people that are just hanging back and relaxing, but I actually do not think that most people will be doing that. I think most people do want to go to work, go and contribute and add value, because in North American work culture, that is how we define ourselves, which is a topic of an upcoming video. So if you haven't already, subscribe for that rant. All right, back to our planned programming. But that's not the only reason why the Great Resignation is happening. Now, anecdotally, I have spoken to a lot of people in the past year and a half. And back when all of the shutdowns and the layoffs started happening, a lot of people that I knew and that I worked with that were in an active job decided to put that job search on hold. There was a lot of instability, a lot of insecurity, and if someone felt somewhat confident that their company was not going to be impacted by the economic dip last year, to put it lightly, they decided that they would just ride things out until the economy and the world opened back up again. And this is where the bigger issues that are causing the Great Resignation are starting to bubble up. We all know the saying, people don't quit jobs, they quit managers. And I know a lot of you are here because you are in a toxic job or you have been in a toxic work environment. And one of the things that we've discussed a lot in the comments actually is that toxic jobs are a lot more bearable when they're remote, when you don't have to deal with the whole toxic coworker water cooler gossip shtick. But now, as we talk about returning into the office, whether it's every single day, hybrid solution, a lot of people are ready to quit their jobs. In my opinion, another thing that is fueling the Great Resignation is that I think our BS tolerance has just moved pretty greatly over the past year and a half. After dealing with a global crisis or 10 over the past year and a half, we just don't feel like wasting our time. We know that life is not meant to be miserable, and if your job is making you miserable, that your job is making your life miserable. And I think a lot of the conversations that have been happening that I won't dig into in this video are actually having a big impact in terms of the things that were once acceptable at work are no longer acceptable at work for more people. And then of course, because many people have been working remotely for the past year and a half, the actual way in which we work is now changing. Maybe you had never worked from home and you realize that you get so much done, you're so much more productive working from home, but your company wants you in the office 5 days a week. You might be considering quitting your job because that's just not gonna work for you. Or maybe you want a hybrid solution, or maybe you're someone whose company decided to go fully remote, but you love going in the office and you want a company that actually is aligned with that. I also think that a lot of the benefits that we get, especially when we look at industries like tech, where you have like the free food and the ping pong tables and the nap rooms and things like that. Well, those perks don't really matter when you don't go into the office very often or at all. Okay, so you're like, Jennifer, I get it. There are so many reasons, but what does this mean for me? So let's talk about that. Well, you fall into one of two camps. Either you are going to quit your job or you are not going to quit your job. Now, if you're going to quit your job, you might not be in an active search. It might not be a thing that you are proactively pursuing, but maybe you're interested in opportunities that just might be falling into your lap. Now, I'm curious which of these camps you're in. Let me know in the comments. Now, if you are in camp, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm planning to quit my job, I actually think that this is a great time to be doing so. And there's a few reasons why I think this is actually a great opportunity in order to make a transition. First and foremost, I think as we are returning to work, potentially maybe we'll see what happens, that it is a natural transition to maybe go back to a different company when you go back into the office. Now, for those of you who aren't necessarily looking, I do think it's a good time for you to just maybe keep your ears open and see if there is any opportunities that are of interest to you. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, and especially if you are in an industry that is being squeezed by the labor shortage, by making a move, you can probably make a pretty dramatic increase in your pay. Also know that because so many people are quitting their jobs right now, this is also creating a lot of job openings, especially at companies that maybe wouldn't have so many job openings because people don't tend to leave. Now, the other thing that I think is great about the job market right now is, and if you are someone who is in a toxic job, you've been plotting your escape, maybe you're feeling like you're almost ready, now is actually a great time if you are someone who could be supported by maybe having a bridge job. So a bridge job is a job that isn't necessarily aligned with your career, but is something that keeps your bills paid while you're looking for the next kind of permanent job. So for example, you can get a part-time job in retail that helps keep money come in the door, cover your bills and things like that. And that's not for everyone. I just wanted to throw that out there because it is an option that is there for those of you who are looking to quit your jobs. Now, just because everyone is quitting their job, it doesn't mean that you should quit your job, or that just because an opportunity presents itself, and even an opportunity that has a little bit more money presents itself, doesn't mean that it's necessarily the best choice. So if you are thinking about maybe making a move, but you're trying to figure out if you should quit your job, I do have a video that will help you determine if you are kind of at a place in your career where you should quit your job and move on to the next opportunity, and I'll link that down below so that you can check it out after this one. Now, for those of you who are like, nah, I'm good where I'm at, I'm on a good track, I'm making some headway, you are still in a great place. You can still take advantage of the Great Resignation as well, and there's a few reasons for this. And just FYI, if you subscribe because you're in a toxic job, you don't fit here. Get back in the last category. Now, with the Great Resignation, we are seeing people that are senior, have been at companies for a long time, that are quitting their jobs. And this is creating opportunities that would not otherwise exist. Now, if you have no intention of quitting your job, you're going to stay exactly where you're at, you're happy with the company and with the opportunity that's ahead of you, this can actually be something that helps you advance your career even faster. Watch for holes that are created by people that are quitting the job, leaving the company as a result of the Great Resignation, and find a way to fill those holes. If you don't know your UAQ yet, this is going to help you figure out which holes you should be filling. Download my free UAQ starter kit if you haven't already. I promise it is going to transform your career. No hyperbole there at all whatsoever. Now, even if you are in a company that isn't seeing a mass exodus of employees running for the door and now they're going back into the office, there are still going to be opportunities as the world resets and goes back to normal, or some level of normal-ish. I don't know what to call it or what's gonna happen 2 months from now, quite honestly. When you fill those holes, and especially when you fill those holes in a way that makes a huge, unignorable impact, you are really staging yourself for the next up level in your career. And this can be something that really helps to accelerate your career advancement so that you can get to that next level faster and maybe even sprint your way up a little bit higher than that. I also think for those of you who are staying put, that as you return into the office, if you are returning to the office, that this has been a reset and you can institute things like work-life boundaries, create and affirm relationships at work, and restage your personal brand as you head back into the office. Now, I know that most of you who are watching this video are probably in the category of quitting your job, or at least being open to new opportunities that present themselves. And for you, I actually have created a playlist called the Great Resignation Starter Pack, and it has a whole bunch of videos that are going to help you in terms of activating a job search while you still have a job, how to actually quit your job, how to write a resignation letter, everything that you need to know to quit your job. You can go and check it out right here. But before you go, if this video helped you, if this was a great crash course in the Great Resignation, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel and it makes you my favorite career bestie. As always, my friend, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.